Ayo, welcome to Benchwarmers, a WOSO podcast, episode 12 plus 10 plus 12 plus 15 is 49. Yeah, that's for your watchers right there. Yes, episode 49. I'm sorry, I couldn't find anyone other than Natasha Debelou. It's hard. These numbers, you don't get double numbers unless you're searching around the grounds. But if anyone has a 49, let me know. If anyone is a 49 at their own club levels, just let me know. We'll pop that in. Just let me know for the next 50 numbers until we get back to 100, and then we can start going one again, and then we don't need the worries. But yeah, 50 to 100, there's a few fill in the blanks that we'll need to. But we are on to part 2 of the podcast. Obviously, we're filming this later on in the week because we wanted to cover the remainder of the Wafcon. We're going to finish it up. Obviously, the final tournament, we're going to see who won. We all know who won at this point, but we're going to go through the big games. The third place playoff. I mean, Leggy, have you ever liked a third place playoff game in any tournament? Do you think these should exist as a concept?
I don't like them as a concept, but I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy them. I loved when Sweden beat the Matildas. I especially love this men's World Cup.
But we could have watched Sweden beat the Matildas without it being a game in the cup that doesn't warrant any semblance of hype, you know?
Yeah, but it's basically it's ostensibly a friendly with some silver at the end. It's basically like an Emirates Cup or a Community Shield Cup.
So the only time I warrant a third place playoff is at the Olympics because there is actually a medal on the line. Yeah. Whereas in tournaments, like when in the Men's World Cup, when they called it a FIFA bronze final, no one cares. There were no defense. 6-4 was rubbish. But this game was relatively interesting, to be honest. Morocco versus Algeria. I mean, the hosts versus the team that I thought was pretty much the most consistent, performing team, pretty much match day in, match day out of this tournament, with a very resolute side. No real superstars, just a champion team that's been managed well. But let's be honest, We want to get to the final straight away. The only things I want to mention are Kautar Azraf, the one to watch at Barcelona. Moroccan wonderkid opened the scoring, and guess who got the assist, Leggy? It was Hanan Ait El Haj again with her 6th assist of the tournament. I actually think it's her 7th because of the non-retake. So it says 6 in total, but it is a ripper tournament from her as a whole. Uzraoui was killing them, but then, as you do in a third place playoff style, Morocco took their foot off the gas, which is what you do in a third place match, and it was Boussaha, Al Ittihad's own, with a beautiful sliding equalizer, good effort, high effort attack, heavy touch from her to make up for it. So she slided onto the ball and scored. It was a good ball from Khaled as well. Then it was Uzraoui, who I feel like has won literally 500,000 penalties this tournament because she's so good. I don't know how no one has signed her from UD Tenerife. What are we doing? If you're a team that needs a winger, this is the girl to go after. She got elbowed in the face by Fleury's new up-and-coming centre-back, Lana Smits. El Haj is going to step up to the penalty, but no, they put a centre-back on this penalty, and she hits the post, and then they have a rebound and miss it as well. It's a full-on sellage. I don't understand. We've watched El Haj score a penalty this tournament already. I don't know why you changed. That's the whole, I always believe it is the Ancelotti thing, where if you miss, go down to the bottom of the table in terms of penalties, and then you get the next person in line and you've got one chance. As soon as you miss, you don't get to take another one, in my opinion, but as soon as you score, you just keep taking them. But it was a very disinteresting game post the missed penalty, and it went to a shootout, which was good vibes. There were some good pens. There was some interesting misses. I believe the worst of the lot was the second last penalty from Nihat Badri. That was a terrible penalty. Balumu's penalty was really good, soft and controlled. Marine Dufour set the tone. It was a good shootout in my opinion. I think I think there were some really interesting moments basically this entire tournament from both sides, but it was a good way to end it with Algeria. Massive scenes to beat the hosts on their own ground at the Stadio de Rabat. It was a big moment for them, and shout out to the goalie, Chloe Ngazi, who's also Fleury's own, right? So they've got a little Algerian link up at the back, Lana Smits and her, that I think will jump into next season. Obviously, both of them likely to start with a lot of Fleury being pillaged post their generational and second half of the season run in the Arkema in the 25-26 season. But we will move on to the game that matters, the game that everyone's talking about. Cameroon, Malawi. Leggy, we watched this. We saw this game. We were excited for this game. We had a lot of predictions about this game. I would say about 35% of them were correct predictions. But other than the fact that we thought the firepower of Malawi would potentially overwhelm or catch Cameroon out early, we did have some semblance of backup to ourselves, saying that if Cameroon can weather the storm, if they can hold on, they can fight back. And then better yet, Chawingas and their history in finals. What did you think? How do you think they approached this game? What did you think of like the first 15, 20 minutes before Cameroon got their opening goal?
I think it was an incredibly even game, if not for the fact that these goals went in quite early in the 90. I thought that as a whole, Malawi set up in a posture that would demand them to be attacking more, that would facilitate a lot of through balls down the spine and down the wings. But Malawi set up so well defensively that meant any through balls were being cut off, that transitional football was getting closed off quite early with that press. And as we've seen throughout this Wafcon, there's just no midfield. So the only way that they're getting the ball to the forwards is through these long balls, through these direct through balls, and when they're cut off, there is no chance that the Chawinga sisters, no matter their prowess and ability to get on the ball as intelligently as possible, they just could not get on the ball in those first 15, and it set the tone for the rest of the game.
100%. And we talked about I literally said it as the question to you, how do you handle the fact that Cameroon's midfield is so overwhelmingly powerful between the 21-year-old Achta Coco, who was fantastic, and then obviously Washington Spirit's own Monique Ngok, who basically had her own claim to player of the tournament. If it weren't for the PR of the Chawingas as a whole, I think there would be a very good guarantor to her or Niaju, who we will get to in a minute. But it was a pretty fantastic start for Malawi as a whole with a lot of those long balls. But again, Bahina matched to the task. So many recoveries and claims. I think she had 9 for the game and she had 3 in the first 10 minutes. So she did her homework. Cameroon did their homework. Valentine did her homework, which shows a level of football IQ that was not matched by the remainder of the sides that came up against it, whether it be Ghana, whether it be Morocco, not Morocco, sorry, Algeria. They didn't do enough to work on those long balls, whereas Bahina and Cameroon, that back line, were always making sure that it was a low percentage chance. But then you look at the opening goal, it is a great run and carry on the right side. And this is what we said about Malawi's defense. Can they handle the storm? Can they handle the barrage that Cameroon usually put on? It's a hard team to come up against when they have that much firepower in the middle. What are you actually supposed to do? It's a great cross across the box. It's a header onto the cross. It's a header that actually gets saved, to be honest, very well by Sikelo onto the crossbar, but obviously should have been managed a bit differently. And who's there at the back post, pseudo back post, to manage this situation? It's the girl I've been talking about all tournament, the Turkish maestro, the basically WOSO version of Victor Osimhen in Marie Ngah Manga, mainly because she just dominates in a place that no one really knows how good it is in Turkish ball, but she's doing it and she does it at such a top level. It's a fantastic goal to open the scoring. It's a bit chaotic, but that's this entire tournament has been chaotic, right? That's what's been happening. It's a very, very good header from Mendua on the other side of the pitch, right? Naomi Eto'o was just running the show on the right side. PSG are very lucky to have her. I don't know how long she'll be at PSG if she keeps playing like this and she brings this into next season, especially with Ramey Lukta and Kanjinga all there to help her out. It's a really, really well-worked goal in the 20th minute, and they did not stop there. They kept going. It was relentless attack on that right side. They found the weakness straight away. No offense to Kumalo. They had to swap the wings. They had to swap the fullbacks. Makandawaya had to go. Then Kumalo had to go. No one was handling Eto'o. I mean, Kumalo tried as hard as she can. Her long balls are good, but is very defensively suspect. And then they just kept going. This second goal is probably the best of the lot. It's from the corner. It's not dealt with particularly well, but who else but Naomi Eto'o? Naomi Eto'o in the 29th minute with we were talking about Tabitha Chawinga's bicycle kick being very much like Alessia Russo. This kind of volley on the floor where it's sliding, like there's no right to actually have your foot on it, and she just contorts her body in the right way, finds the side netting. It's an absolutely magnificent strike. I don't know what Malawi could have done. I feel like the back post, whoever was on the back post, there was no back post. Exactly right. There's your issue there. I feel like you could kind of assign blame to Chinzimu, but again, Chinzimu is not a defender, not a natural defender on the back post. That's not her position. But you could tell, as I said, that they've moved Chinzimu up in this game. They brought on Gondwe, right, because Chinyamula played as well. And the midfield without Kadzere was suffering. You could tell that they were missing a big cog in their midfield to be able to facilitate space for the Chawinga sisters. You had Samuel Eto'o very, 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 very happy on sidelines that Naomi had scored the second, and it was Temwa saying, like, we need to go at it. We need to give ourselves the respect and understanding that we can get back in this game, but it wasn't happening anytime soon. It was really suspect defending from Malawi in a final. They just choked. I don't know. There's no other way to describe this other than a supremo choke in a final, and it's sadly become very characteristic of the Chawinga sisters. Tabitha less so, but Temwa less so, because Temwa is not really in those final positions that much because of how the NWSL works, and she can win leagues and stuff the same way Tabitha can. But when you look at the finals record, namely in the Champions League, I feel like Tabitha hasn't really done it for Lyon. Yes, she can do it in Coup de Féminine finals. Yes, she can do it in the French domestic stuff. But in the Champions League, whether it be in the semi-final against Arsenal 2 years ago or the final against Barcelona last season, I feel like there is a little bit left to be desired.
I think there is a common denominator in every final that the Chawinga sisters have participated in, and that is an over-reliance on their skill set against teams that have identified through either a tournament or through a league how to nullify that. And I think at the end of the day, the Chawinga sisters are incredible. Their skill set is incredible, and what they work on throughout the campaign is building a body of work that can, in this case, get Temwa a golden boot. In this case, have Chabita Chawinga be a standout captain and a standout player in the forward line for Malawi. But when it comes down to a final, it is 90 minutes of not a lot of attacking football. A lot of the time, it's conservative, it's defense first football, and that's why I identified last week that you need the rest of the team to step up when your main players are going to be iced out of games. And in this case, I don't think that the rest of Malawi's team stepped up to A, facilitate the Chawinga sisters, and B, be that, second cog in this machine, because they're the first and only cog, it seemed like, in this game.
I feel like Malawi got beaten in their own game here, because in the midfield, the ability for Cameroon to turn on a dime, play the long ball. Naomi was always out the back. Sakelo came out for the fourth one in the the third goal in the 45th minute. It was fantastic work from Eto'o to get around the goalie and then cross it onto Ngah's head. Marie Giselle Devine and Ngah Manga didn't have much work to do. Yes, it's a good header, but it's all about the cross. It's all about the finish. And you can tell by the celebration that it was all about what she did. And shout out to Genevieve Mbelek, 33 years old in the 10 in this game, was absolutely crushing those out the back balls. She was the one who ended up playing it to Eto'o. It was a beautiful ball. I think after that one went in, the Cameroon faithful knew that celebration was absolutely insane when they scored. That little corner that they had, the Cameroon fans, was incredible scenes, and they went to celebrate with the fans too. I mean, look, it was 3-0 in the 45th minute. It's kind of game over at this point. And then you look early on in the 45th, you could tell Malawi were fired up to try and get back into it. But any chance the Chewingas had, it was basically 3v1. Like, they were getting isolated from each other. They weren't allowed to play it to each other. You had Chewinga trying to score a long shot between 4-5 Cameroon players. You're never going to get a goal like that. And look, she was close. I'm not saying she wasn't far away. I mean, Ngah also should have had a hat-trick in the 48th minute. There was another long ball, classic, literally beating them at their own game. The long ball from, you guessed it again, Mbelek to Ngah. She holds off the defender. She scoops it around Sikelo and then literally does a Fernando Torres and misses an open net. You can see Eto'o going mental on the sidelines. Sammy was losing his mind, and that would have been the game, obviously, but Ngah didn't need to score that goal. I do think Eto'o should have got player of the match because she facilitated both of the goals and then scored her own goal. Like, I think she was fantastic. But it was just such a good moment for Cameroon to just keep going relentless in this game. I feel like the defending was fantastic when needed from Cameroon. Kith, again, ripper moments, defensive contributions for the masses. I mean, she had 6 only in this game. Usually she has about 10 or 12, but we have to give it again. Maeva Nyaju, I mean, she set up that goal she set up the header for Naomi Eto'o, who headed it down, and then also had, yet again, 16 defensive contributions. We're talking about a 19-year-old centre-half who's basically dropped an 8.5, 9 out of 10 in the last 3 games of this tournament. Shout out to Bahina, who's barely conceded a goal and has saved 4 penalties in the lead up to this. It's a generational run from a team that, I mean, sets the tone now. This is where they are. Yes, they've lost four finals in this century, but now they're off the mark. They've got their first, and they absolutely deserve it. They kept Tabitha and Temwa goalless. Temwa probably missed one that she should have got at the hour mark, but I think it was just one of those days where everything was going right for Cameroon, and Malawi just left their efforts too little too late. I think Cameroon probably should have had a 4th. They didn't count it, which was a bit of a shame. But I mean, shout out to Sikelo, who's actually making a few really good saves for Malawi to make sure that this game didn't end up worse than it was. But I believe it was in injury time, like the 93rd minute. The ball was taken around the goalie. It was scored. It was a 4-0 win. You had the captain, magic moment for Ndanza Colette, who ran past the keeper, scored. But I think Ndanza came off, and then they brought on, it was Michaela Abam. Michaela Abam had a goal that was ruled out. I mean, that would have been a huge moment for her. There was great celebrations for it too, but it was a long ball over the top from Bahina that bounced over Makandawaya, absolutely brutal. And then the ball across from yet again, it's Mbelek again. And I mean, they looked on the VAR, they had a check, and it did not count. I don't actually know why. They didn't really say why. I think they said it was offside, but I didn't really see much of an offside in my opinion. I think it was maybe the long ball from the goalie that she was offside from, but that's such a harsh call. It's literally like inches. I don't know. VAR in this situation has ruled out a goal in a final, which, I mean, is so harsh. But 3-0 win. I don't think Abam is losing sleep over the fact that she is a African champion. All of these players, hands up to the indomitable Lionesses, who absolutely smoked the Scorchers, not just in this final, but their own game. They set the precedent. They conceded literally one goal, no goals they conceded 1 goal, and it was a penalty in a penalty shootout in the 3 knockout games. That's all they conceded. It is a generational defensive performance from a team that is very much worthy of trophies for. I mean, the foreseeable future. We'll see what happens for next WAFCON. We'll see what happens in this World Cup. I think this is a moment for Africa to establish themselves on the stage, and these are players that can definitely get them. I don't know. If I'm going to go hot take, I mean, I've already said that I believe Germany, if every player is fit, are the team to go for. Obviously, obviously the big three are going to go for it. We're going to talk about a few of the injuries that some of the big three have that are going to be actually quite detrimental to the potentials of those big three Titan teams in Spain, England, and the USA, who all have injuries carrying at the moment, and we'll see how they last for said World Cup. But Cameroon should be looking at the World Cup and think, you know what? We can make a semi-final. We can make potentially a final. There's no reason why we couldn't do this in a knockout stage. And I understand that it's a different precedent. It's a different expectation for them. But this kind of football is hard to play against at any level. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how you set up for it. Football IQ for football IQ, the physicality, the power. But it's now the brilliance of the facilitation of their midfield. It's the rugged defending. It's hard to play against, and Nigeria have shown it for years. They've been very hard to beat in international tournaments, and now we have Cameroon in the mix to be the next precedent.
I think that what you identified earlier as a purely defensive effort, a body of work that has highlighted just how solidly defensive Cameroon have been, is on track with what we're seeing in international football. The most defensively solid teams are winning both the continental trophies, are winning big matches when it comes to World Cup qualifiers as well. We're seeing a genuine shift towards a defensive first style of football. And I think that will, and as it should be, because we recognize that women's football has developed and changed, and you need to have a solid defense to win tournaments now. It's not just about full frontal attacking football. But I think that when we look at somebody like Cameroon, that's what they have to identify as being their strength. I don't expect them to go out and beat a, fantastic European side who have a caliber of players that play in European tournaments and win European tournaments every year, I should say. But
not every week.
Not every week. But the recognition of that style of play will obviously work for them. And it's about identifying what will work for you in these World Cup matches, because you can't really do much outside of what you're good at. I don't expect you to be like revolutionizing the game. I expect you to do what you're good at. And I think if Cameroon get to the knockouts of this World Cup, that is a success for them. That's not to stifle their potential. It's just by saying, like, Nigeria got to the...
But by being an African champion, I will say that they will be a pot one side potentially, and then they will get a potentially fortuitous group that will allow them to break through.
But we've seen in this tournament, like yes, it's been a fantastic tournament. Yes, it's been exciting, but there is an active and a genuine style of play difference that makes these European teams just like in tournament football, technically and stylistically better.
Even the CONCACAF sides. I mean, we have to talk about the fact that yes, bar Brazil, I don't think the CONMEBOL sides in WOSO are necessarily the Menso equivalent, obviously through repressed history and the way in which women are treated in football in those respective countries. But CONCACAF sides make up for that in the sense of that I would say Canada are a very resolute side. I would say Mexico in their last year have been incredibly impressive, and their front three are incredibly dangerous. Like, I would back Mexico to give Cameroon a right go, right? They're that front three of Cambreros and Palacios and I forgot who's the third. I always forget her name. But Cambreros and Palacios will give them a game, and will work hard to make sure that they are setting a precedent that CONCACAF are the next continent behind a continent like Europe, obviously with champions as such. But I think it's more the precedent is on Cameroon to be a bit greater than they are, right? Like they like be as great as they were in this tournament in an international stage. Set the precedent that African nations aren't to be just put aside as if they're not like they're fantastic. Yeah, I was thinking of Maria Sanchez as the third one with Cambreros and Palacios, a ripper front three, and then obviously Alice Soto in behind. They've got a ripper side, obviously, but I do back Cameroon to make it to at least, I don't know, we're going to go to round of 16s. There's going to be more teams in this tournament. We should be looking at more than I would be looking at the final 8 if I'm Cameroon, because that's where Nigeria would be looking. Like, that's what I'd be looking. If you can beat the round of 16, you can beat the quarterfinals. I think if you come up against, just remember, there will be third place sides that get through, right? It's not just top twos.
Isn't this their first World Cup? Like, that's what I'm saying. To get out of the group stage.
Yeah, but this was also this was also the first time. They're like the first time in 8 years. Like, none of these players had played in a final before. Yeah, they went up against all odds against Nigeria.
Team that
they
also
went up
hasn't.
Nigeria are 3 to
no,
some
but
of those players
final,
in that game. In the final, yes, they're going up against Malawi. None of them are champions. I get that, but to go up against Nigeria in
a week in Nigeria, all this stuff as well with Nigeria.
Okay, but a week in Nigeria, still with players that are 3-time champion. And they went up against all odds and weathered the storm in ways that are unimaginable. I think they can weather the storm against big sides too that aren't just Nigeria. I don't know, if Cameroon come up against us, they're not going to be like, oh, it would be an admirable defeat to lose to the Matildas. They'll think, oh, we can beat them because we beat Nigeria.
Beat us. They could probably beat us, but we're not getting to the round of 8. Like, that's
no.
Not gonna happen.
What do you mean? That's our goal. The Matildas' goal is to get to the quarterfinals.
That might be the Matildas' goal, but I don't know if that's actually a reality.
But that's my point, is that whatever my argument would be is that Matilda's goals and the African champions' goals should be the same, in my opinion.
I disagree.
I think
the Matildas got to a third round playoff, to a semi-final of the World Cup in 2023.
But was that the goal originally in that tournament? The goal was not to get to the semi-final. The goal was.
Why would you say the goal is not to get to the semi-final? We're going to stop at quarterfinal.
Okay, sorry. When I say the goal, I mean the benchmark. The benchmark.
I would say the benchmark was to try and get to a final. It's a home tournament. It's not unexpected
to get to the final, to get to the World Cup final
in a transitioning women's football scene that had a weakened Spain team, that had probably our biggest opponents, England, who we beat in the last friendly leading up to the tournament.
But friendlies. But no. I just don't think like the final was not the benchmark, though. I'm saying, like, I'm talking about like a C+ tournament for the Matildas would have been like round of 16. If we lost to France in that penalty shootout, that would have been like B. That would have been like a B-. It still would have been above what they expected, but even though we beat them in the playoff, what was it? It wasn't a playoff. It was like a friendly game before the World Cup where they barely played any of their players, right? And we beat them 1-0. But I just mean in the sense of that I don't think Cameroon should be looking at, oh, we make it to the knockout stages, that's it. I think they'll be looking at it like, we are African champions, you're coming up against African champions, and we're not going to take it lightly. And I respect that, right? The same way that Algeria, Morocco, and Malawi will all go into this World Cup thinking we need to show what African football can do, because the Menso African nations did it as well when they came to the Men's World Cup, and 9 out of 10 of their teams qualified for the round of 32. That's what I think in terms of, like, it's not an individual idea, it's a collective CAF idea that they want to be the second in line behind Europe, and there is an active pursuit of these magnificent talents that are going to be looking at this tournament as the benchmark to be like, you know what? We could knock out a Canada. We could knock out a Colombia. We could knock out a Australia, and then we come up against Japan and let's see what happens. We come up against a USA and maybe lose but make it interesting. And like we actually don't know what happened. We don't know what will happen. Obviously, that's the beauty of football, but it is exciting to see that there are new African champions. So it's not just like, oh, Nigeria are the ones to be afraid of, and then the rest are kind of behind. We now have new champions that are going to be looked at and recognized and gain the PR. Obviously, the Chewinga sisters have their own PR, but I don't know. No one I know is talking about Niaju or Bahina or Marie Ngamanga, but they will very, very soon, whether it be not in the Champions League, because obviously there's things in the way. I mean, if Benfica make the Champions League, that would be good, but I don't know if they will. And then we could talk about Bahina in that way. But I just think it will be waiting for the 2027 tournament to actually announce these players on the scene, the same way that Linda Caicedo got her her stint and boost after beating Germany. That was a game that was considered unattainable for Colombia, and then look what happened from there, and then they made a Copa America final. Football is just insane, and I think women's football, there's more capacity for the upsets due to the transitional nature and the developing nature. But again, it doesn't take away from the fact that Malawi will be very hard to beat with the Chawinga sisters. And when they're on, albeit, do I think they're going to make a final? No. So we'll see them do the magic again in games that aren't really as important as they should be. But that's not to say that I still think they are two of the top 10 players in the world. I wonder how this will affect their Ballon d'Or rankings. But shout out to TNT, who put on an amazing show for us the entire tournament. The dream is not over, and the golden generation is not done. I still think Temwa and Tabitha have so much more to give for Malawi and so much more to give for football. But that all we have for the Wafcon. That's all we have for the tournament. It's been amazing covering it. I've had an amazing time, Leggy. Obviously, covering a lot of the knockouts as well. Like this is I mean, how we want to mate, this is probably the last bit of international football for a little bit, which is a bit of a shame, but that means club ball is back. Are we ready for them late nights? Probably not, to be honest, but that is all we have for part 2 of the podcast.
I just wanna see a smile. I can't get you off my mind.